Good morning, this is Natalie Zangon with my video of the day. I am going to do a video today on our Blue Jay project. As you can see, I'm also wearing blue. Our Blue Jay project is our effort of creating inclusiveness, sensitivity, compassion, and understanding with people in our community that have different types of abilities. These children or adults sometimes go unnoticed, and people just don't understand how amazing and magnificent they are just because they have a different way of relating to the world and understanding the things around them. So, under our Blue Jay project, I wanted to talk about different categories such as autism, ADHD, Down syndrome, like anything that comes to your my sensory processing disorder, SPD, and just different things with especially kids that you might come across that are not your neurotypical. The word neurotypical means like the typical kids you see around. Even with them, some of them might have underhiding uh, behavior things that you just don't notice. So today we're going to start with autism. Children with autism are so unique, they're special, they have so much to offer the world, and unfortunately, because of their different approach to interaction, sometimes they don't get as much acknowledgement and invitation as they should. To be honest, I don't think having these kids in special schools all their life is the best option. I think the involvement and social interaction with all types of kids also can impact their growth and their developmental ability. Obviously depends on their functioning, but as a spiritual person, divine person, religious person, you need to know that every human being that comes into this world, especially with these types of ability, there's a reason for it. There's a reason why God wanted them to be here, and it's our responsibility to give them their utmost respect that we can. And according to Kabbalah and Zohar, teaching from the Torah, we believe that these types of individuals are spiritually on a much, much higher level than everyone else. And I guess that explains why certain things that might interest everyone else, they really don't care for, because spiritually, they're just on a whole other angle. So we're going to discuss and go over autism, like I told you. So autism is like a new neurobehavior condition. These individuals have a very difficult time with social interaction, and being in social setting is really hard for them because the way they understand the world is very different than everyone else. One thing I want you to think of when you think of autism is that these individuals are like, they keep talking about sensory overload. They hear and feel things around them that you and I are exposed to also, but to them, it stimulates their brain on another level. So they're hearing all these noise and all this stimulation all at once. So it's hard for them to understand it because they're being exposed to everything. They can take in everything that's going on. Next, it's cognitive dysfunction. So they have a very difficult time in like socially picking up what's going on, being able to read faces. They kind of like have a very flat affect. They don't get hidden meanings to things. So if you say, let's say like take your seat, they might literally pick up their seat and ask you where to. Or if you tell them like you're really pushing my button, they would say like, where do you have a button? Your shirt doesn't look like it has a button. Like they hear everything that's in the background noise, and they're not being rude when they ask you these questions. This is just they really take things literal. They just don't get that it's a metaphor or a expression. Number three is stemming or repetitive pattern. So like you might see the hand clapping or like the rocking or like so they do these certain types of behavior to calm their body down. And with autism, there's a spectrum. So sometimes people have it and you just don't notice it because it's like like you don't really notice it. It might be like picking the cheek of their lip, or like doing subtle things with their hands, and it's not so noticeable, so you don't even realize the person is doing it. Um, there's an environment, genetic, and psychological factor to having autism, and they're very, very, very smart, bright kids, and they kind of like understand the world from a whole different angle than other people do. They their memory sometimes it's just amazing, and every autistic child is different than the other. So there's certain things like the three things we spoke about that's common, but there's more to it that's different amongst them as well. To them, the world is a very tough place because there's certain things they have no problem with, but everyone else keeps pointing it out to them just because they're not seeing the world through our point of view, like the neurotypical. So, and it's also important for people who do have autism to embrace what they have, kind of like stop judging yourselves by what you don't have and what you are not, because all it's going to do is emotionally bring you down. Um, the next thing I wanted to talk. Oh, so I also what I was saying about stimming. There's also certain things like with autism in a woman that is much harder to tell because there's different functioning levels of it. So like kind of like hair twitching, playing with hair, nail biting, skin, like kind of like playing with the skin. The, you might not even notice it because it could be very subtle. That's a big factor with children or adults with autism is a lack of social skills. They really don't care for social setting, even though they have nothing to do. They just prefer to be in their routine. They rather be by themselves than in a group. They have a lack of ability to communicate and conversate with some kids. Lack of facial expression. You'll ask them, "Are you happy?" They'll say, "Yes, I'm very happy." "Are you comfortable right now?" "Yes, I'm very comfortable." Whereas you ask a neurotypical person, "Are you happy?" They'll say, "I'm so happy right now." So they have lack of facial expression. Their executive functioning, like being organized and direct with some, is very, very hard for them. They have a lot of sensory issues, like with the clothing they wear, the jewelry or a hat on their head. It will itch them, it will like irritate them and bother them. They constantly can feel this experience of like not fitting in. They avoid eye contact when you're having conversation with them. They have delayed speech. They speak much later. Autism usually gets diagnosed before the age of 3. And at the age of the terrible twos, if your child is not terrible during the terrible twos, that's something to be concerned about. I always tell parents, if you notice your 2-year-old just sitting to the corner and not like thriving or wanting to make trouble and being curious, pay attention to it. Sometimes with our children's village advocacy, the daycare teacher calls me and says, the child never caused any problem. They would just sit in a place for hours. And I'm like, that is things for us to be concerned about. That parent, it would have been better if they would get that child evaluated. They get resilience on rules, and also routine. They lock the same routine. Any change of a routine will set them off. Being upset on minor changes. Why did you put my book here instead of there? They will like have fireworks go. An unexpected reaction to noises and sounds. That will jump up, they will hold their ear, they will scream because it will really, really hurt them. And also, uh, they have a very difficult time understanding their social environment. They just don't pick up cues as fast, they don't understand it. So, just like people have sensitivity to people with physical limitation, it needs to be the same thing. So, my hope for this Blue Jay project is awareness, education, and involvement. Awareness, education, and inclusiveness. We need to teach children about all types of children so that when they see kids like this at the park, instead of moving away from them, because these kids are not contagious. If you sit next to them, you don't get what they have. This is just the type that they're born. That's the type, that they're born with. And it's so important to teach our children about appreciation, acceptance, and love, no matter what a child is like, to help them understand that this is the choice, God decided for them to be like that. It's kind of like the five fingers of our hand. We don't like one more than the other. All of them are so different. And look how different the thumb looks. We don't exclude it because it's not tall and big. We don't let go of it because of that. We need our thumb. And I feel like our thumb are the blue jay world, these kids that are different in different ways, whether it's extreme or mild or minor. We need to be more awareness, loving, and understanding of this. People can have this, adults can have this, and you need to understand what you're dealing with to create the best environment for them. And and the more sensitive we are and the more of a sensitive environment we will create for them, the more progress they're going to have. And there's many very well known people like Albert Einstein and so many like other, I just can't remember their name, were also on the autistic category because their brain just functions in a very different world, and they brought a lot of goodness to the universe because they were permitted to shine their light. And I so believe it's so important to do that. It's important for these children to feel the love, affection, even the adults, and know that they are cared for just being who they are, and we could open up our heart to let them in. It's always easier to close the door on people. It's much harder to open it and let them in. And that's how we make a difference in the world. And it's our responsibility and obligation as a community to know that everyone needs to feel comfortable with who they are, even though we're not used to them. It's how we educate them and create more of a sensitive environment for them. Thank you for watching. This is Natalie Zangon at gmail.com.